Hey everyone, AquaTwist here. Welcome back to UI Spy, the series where I analyze the UI of video games. I know it's a few months late, but I wanted to take a look back at 2024 one last time. While Nintendo's quality was arguably lower than it was in 2023, we still had an incredible year for great game UI. I didn't get to play every game which came out last year, and I'm still catching up with some of them too. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed the video, as I discuss some of my favorite UI from games in 2024. Animal Well. What an incredible indie hit. Now, you may be thinking, there's barely any UI in here, but that's the best part. The lack of UI allows you to immerse yourself in this underground landscape. The HUD only displays the item you're currently using and HP. Similar to Breath of the Wild's Pro mode, the minimal usage of UI lets you focus on the level design, which is especially important in any Metroidvania. If anything, the majority of the UI lies within the robust map system. There's a bunch of different icons to use as pins for you to place, as other Metroidvanias have done in the past. What do these icons mean? It's totally up to the players, and aren't restricted to specific meanings. However, it's constantly annoying having to open and close the map whenever I'm having trouble remembering where I am in the world. Animal Well is designed to make you feel lost, but an option to show a small mini-map on the corner would have made the gameplay flow more streamlined. Also, this might just be a personal thing, but some of the secret areas and hard edges of an area can be hard to see, especially compared to other Metroidvanias like Axiom Verge. But those are just minor gripes. The lack of UI pushes forward the environmental storytelling and lack of pop-up boxes. It makes Animal Well special compared to other games released last year. I highly recommend playing this game at night with no lights on or on an OLED screen. It makes the colors really pop and pulls you into the experience unlike any other. Calling Animal Well the game Donkey published is a disservice to the incredible quality and effort put in by Billy Basso and the Shared Memory team. It's a perfect example of games as an art, a craft if you will. Balatro. I was pretty late into the Balatro hype train after I grabbed the physical for only $20 on Black Friday, but it was worth the wait. From the title screen alone, I can understand why this game took the world by storm. The swirling vortex pulls you in, inviting you to become addicted to this experience. Each button on the main menu features distinct accent colors. They have just the right amount of saturation and contrast to pop without blinding you on the screen. But the strongest card Balatro has up its sleeve, no pun intended, are its accessibility options. There are dozens of settings you can adjust to make the gameplay experience more comfortable for you. You can toggle off the motion and reduce screen shake, there are high contrast cards to make the suit colors match a traditional playing card deck, and sliders for the CRT bloom. These allow Balatro to be accessible to a wider range of people with different needs based on their disabilities and sensitivities. Accessibility options are critically important for developers to include, especially when developing for a mainstream audience. I really hope AAA and other indie developers can take a page from Balatro's extensive settings menu. Looking at you, Nintendo. Local Thunk has also added free updates, allowing you to choose the suits to be themed from other indie and AAA games, including Shovel Knight, Stardew Valley, The Witcher, and yes, even Among Us. It adds to the already insanely high replay value, constantly making this game feel fresh instead of having to use the same theme every run. In terms of the gameplay, Local Thunk put a lot of care into the UI and UX implementation, which contributes to the addictive gameplay loop. The looping ice cream swirl of the background is simple but ingenious in design. Paired with the bouncing animations for the cards and font, it keeps your eyes glued to the game at all times. Real-life poker is typically played on a standard green table, so after decades of seeing the same old solitaire on your grandma's iPad, Balatro's hypnotic animations breathe new life into this iconic classic. The entire background color changes depending on special events too. Whenever you're buying a tarot card, it becomes purple. Boss blinds change depending on the color of the blind itself, such as gray. This subtle change easily draws your focus back in, reminding you that something important is happening. The constant shaking and tilting animations encourage you to stack multipliers together, a necessity for successful runs. There's a blue or red square behind the white text to help indicate if the number is being added to your credits or multipliers respectively. When you reach a blind target score within one hand, the score and multiplier banners light up in flames, which grow hotter the higher you exceed the score, which is incredibly satisfying. Same with tallying up the score at the end of each blind. It's a nice dopamine rush seeing the dollar signs and dots plop one by one. All of the core gameplay info, including your hands and discards, is displayed into one panel on the left-hand side of the screen. Each stat is divided into their own sub-panels, in different colored fonts to easily distinguish them. The low contrast font makes them easily readable. This is especially important for the numbers, as identifying how many hands you have left can make or break an entire run. Another neat feature is being able to access the run info cheat sheet at any time by pressing minus on the Switch or equivalent on PlayStation and Xbox. This is especially helpful to inexperienced poker players like me. Even after you've done enough runs and memorized all the hand types, it's still useful for keeping track of each hand's current level, which you upgrade with planet cards. Balatro is another example of how indie games are becoming increasingly mainstream, and shouldn't be brushed off. Even though I've only played around 25 hours, it's ingrained in my mind where I can't view regular playing cards without the music playing in my head. With the rise of roguelites in indies and AAA games alike, Balatro is an excellent starting point for newcomers to the genre. If you haven't played it yet, what are you doing? The mobile version is only $10 on the App Store, and touchscreen support makes for a smoother gameplay experience. Rivals at Aether II. This was a pleasant surprise for me. Although I love Tekken 8 and enjoyed my time with it, I prefer the colorful UI design Rivals has over Tekken's flat, muted menus. Both fighting games are incredible, and I'm excited to keep playing them for years to come. But what really impresses me with Rivals is how it's evolving platform fighters forward. How does it do this? Let's start by looking at the battle UI itself. When playing online, each player's ping is displayed. The amount of ping a player has is color-coded based on a traffic light, from green to yellow to red. The bottom right also concisely displays rollback and delay frames, with curved arrow and clock icons respectively. Since Rivals appeals to a more hardcore audience compared to Smash Bros., this iconography in tiny font gives more screen real estate. This removes the need for programmers to change UI text for different languages, like in Tekken 8, which would need to use a different word for rollback and delay. The server location closest to where all players are playing from is also displayed. Each character's battle portraits have their own distinct pattern, based on their element. It's a step up from Smash Ultimate just reusing the diamonds. The number of wins players currently have is displayed on screen with the crown icon when playing online. However, during ranked matches, the crown changes to a rectangular tick, indicating the current match in your set. There's also a hold start to force all to continue at the results screen. Smash Ultimate really could have used this. I couldn't count the amount of times I've had to remind someone to mash A after a match was over. Why did they remove this feature from previous Smash games? Small additions like these perfectly fit the online gameplay experience. They show how Rivals 2 is stepping out of the shadow of Smash and thriving as its own thing. This also applies to the menu design as well. It's a massive improvement from the original Rivals at Aether. The layout is carried over nicely, with the core modes featuring larger buttons than the rest of the menu. The pixelated characters and fonts translate nicely into a fully 3D, big-budget indie title. But the character select screen is where Rivals really shines. It features an animated purple grid background, reminding me of the main menu in Super Smash Bros. Melee. The character slots are grouped together based on their elements, a core theme of Rivals' identity. You can quickly change the rules of a match just by selecting the respective icons on the top of the screen, instead of having to go into a separate menu like in Smash. This quality of life feature is useful if you want to change gameplay on the fly, like switching from teams to free-for-alls. And finally, you can strike stages in ranked matches, as you would at Smash tournaments. Project M, the main inspiration for Rivals at Aether II's game design, implemented this feature many years ago. As someone who played competitive Smash for years, it's refreshing to have this in official platform fighter. Even only releasing a few months ago, Rivals at Aether II keeps improving its UI as one of the best platform fighters on the market. Currently, it's only on Steam, but I recommend it for anyone who's bored of Smash Ultimate and are looking for something better. Sonic X Shadow Generations. The most recent game I played in this list, Shadow Generations improved upon the UI of the beloved Sonic Generations. For the purpose of this video, I'm focusing on this as a standalone campaign, and not the full remaster package that came out last year. Funnily enough, the main menu of this game is a carbon copy of Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, the Switch remaster of the Wii U game, with Shadow Generations being put to the side as if it was ripping into the base game's menu. Ironic because Shadow Generations is very similar to Bowser's Fury, with a fully 3D hub world. It features an open zone hub inspired by the design of Sonic Frontiers, where you travel throughout the space to play through the levels. The HUD is greatly overhauled from the original Sonic Generations, and I love most of the improvements. Red is predominantly featured throughout the title cards and menus, representing Shadow's iconic red stripes. Rings are now displayed with their large, albeit basic, yellow text. the timer banner is smaller and grouped underneath the ring counter. As Shadow's gameplay is arguably faster than Sonic's at times, grouping these two together was a smart choice. It orients the player's attention towards Shadow, without darting their eyes all over the screen. During challenges, a progress bar decreases as you get further from the time needed to get a rank in. This incentivizes me to replay challenges to get S ranks, increasing the tension and making speedruns more enjoyable. But it would have been nice if they included it in standard levels after beating them the first time, instead of guessing how quickly you need to beat a level. The stage lists and challenge lists are much appreciated quality of life changes. You can even select the stage to quickly teleport to it, instead of having to find it on the map. The number of unlockable chests scattered throughout the world are displayed here as well. The developer's intention is clear. Familiarize players with Shadow's controls in the hub world before allowing them to blast through everything. But overall, Shadow's the most fun I've had with a Sonic game in a long time, and it motivates me to play more of the series. And while I haven't played Sonic Adventure 2 yet, I can appreciate Shadow's story being expanded upon. If it weren't for the quality of life improvements to the UI, I would have enjoyed the gameplay experience as much. If you've only dipped your toes in this series, like watching the movies or dabbling with some of the games, definitely check out Shadow Generations. You won't regret it. Metaphor ReFantazio. Last but not least, the game you're all waiting for. 2 years in a row, Atlus put out masterclass UIs within their iconic RPGs. All 4 titles Atlus released last year have superb interfaces, from Persona 3 Reload's mature navy blue motifs to Unicorn Overlord's royal patterns. But out of all of these titles, Metaphor easily takes the cake. Now, full disclaimer, I've yet to play the full game, as I'm going to wait for the Switch 2 port if it happens, and my backlog is stacked with RPGs right now. However, after playing the prologue demo for almost 10 hours on stream, I believe I've gotten enough of a grasp of the design philosophies behind the menus and UI systems to briefly talk about them here. Similar to Persona 3 Reload, Metaphor takes a more nuanced approach to its menu design. Unlike the dynamic movement and flash transitions of Persona 5 Royal, Metaphor focuses more heavily on its aesthetic theming. The core elements of modern Persona menus, including the Days on 2 panel and battle commands, are still here, but are twisted to fit within Metaphor's unique setting. The line scratches and button animations, geometric patterns in dialogue boxes, and watercolor character portraits evoke the Renaissance era of human history. According to an article from the New York Times, Koji Issei, the lead interface designer, looked to Renaissance paintings and visited art galleries during development. And I can definitely see how the inspiration paid off, reminding me of the importance of references when developing my own projects. These menus are even more impressive after learning that Issei apparently never worked on the game before Metaphor, mainly working on advertisements and websites. Collaborating with Masayoshi Sudo, the design advisor and previous lead designer of Atlus titles, their menus immerse players into this high fantasy world. It's almost as if people are playing a work of Renaissance art itself. Metaphor also uses the dominant color motif found within Persona 3, 4, and 5, this time using a violet-red, mint-green color scheme. Focusing on a dual color palette allows Metaphor to have a unique identity from Atlus's 2 pillar franchises. On top of the new quality of life features, such as including memorandum for cutscenes, Metaphor might just be the most feature-rich UI Atlus has made to date. What a perfect representation for 30 years of Atlus RPG legacy. It perfectly suits veterans and newcomers of Atlus's titles, the latter which Studio Zero aimed to appeal towards. There's so much more detail to unpack about Metaphor's UI, but that will have to wait for its own video in the future. And there you have it. Those are some of my favorite UIs and games from 2024. 2025 is already shaping up to be yet another incredible year for UI design. There are so many titles I've got my eye on, and that's not even including the unannounced games for Switch 2. Let me know in the comments below what games you thought had the best UI last year. Be sure to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to see more game UI content. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.
Objection!